Our early released game details and plot info tell us we're able to piece together everything to be expected in FNAF's soon-to-be released Help Wanted 2 before the official launch. Starting with the coveted release date, we know future events for this big release start us at September 1st to the 4th, as this is when the big demo takes place at the PAX West convention. In terms of an official game release, this means at this point in development, Steelwool Studios is comfortable enough to reveal certain bits and pieces of how their game works and how the FNAF VR experience translates into this new installment. Meaning following past trends would give us a good idea of what potential release date we could be looking at here. The original FNAF Help Wanted had a first look set up in the same exact fashion as the sequel, and the actual game release didn't end up being for another 9 months or so, meaning the late 2023 prediction is probably gonna bring us out further to the last month or two of the year for things to be fully polished. But the big question in regards to this new game is what exactly we should be expecting for it, because diving into our big story info actually reveals way more than you'd expect. In terms of the physical gameplay aspect that corresponds to what types of levels are to be incorporated in Help Wanted sequel, we know there are actually some complications that arise. You see, the color palette and scheme of the character designs for Security Breach cause issues with potential seizures and just an uncomfortable experience with how much the brightness is gonna burn off the player's eye sockets. So in terms of its inclusion as part of our VR experience, I'm not sure how likely it is to actually make an appearance. Help Wanted 2 is more likely going to be taking an entirely different approach that's going to change the course of the Five Nights at Freddy's story as we know it. The story aspect is proven to be set up exactly how the first Help Wanted game was set up too, but this time with a big twist. Help Wanted was shown to tie heavily to the events we see depicted in Security Breach later on, to clear up some of the big mysteries we had. And in the case of connecting the FNAF Ruin DLC to Help Wanted 2, we have way more this time around you're gonna want to be aware of before the actual launch day. Sister location. It's been a big theme throughout the entirety of the Help Wanted 2 teasers we've seen thus far. Posters, the same flippin' location, book connections, and we can attribute this same theme to the entire DLC as well. Throughout Ruin, we have references to Sister Location's most infamous moments, room design similarities, even small decoration details pointed out by popular theorists to all have some big underlying meaning towards what exactly is meant to happen in FNAF Help Wanted 2. The elevator. This is where our big connections are going to be made. If you didn't know, it's actually the main important area we're led through in the trailer, cementing it in as something with significance. But we know factually this isn't the first time an elevator scene has stuck out like a sore thumb lore-wise. Ruin's elevator ending. Out of the 3 unlockable endings of the DLC, the one that stands out from the rest as the ending tying into future canon events is what's known as the elevator ending. The one in which Cassie is dropped to her doom unexpectedly and left with a big question mark in terms of what actually happened to her. Looking closer into her exact landing position tells us she's scientifically in the best position possible to make it out of this elevator drop alive, back to the wall to protect all of her vital organs, which potentially connects it right back to the very same elevator we see at the start of the VR sequel. What if Help Wanted 2 is meant to occur right after the events of this Ruin ending? Meant to be a continuation of our most confusing ending of the bunch, even supported by the file's title of Neutral Ending, to suggest Cassie is meant to survive the fall after all. If she simply went splat here, it definitely would have just been labeled Bad Ending. But narrative-wise, we absolutely have to look at the facts in order to slot our newest FNAF game into place and explain everything. And we do exactly that with the layout of this Help Wanted 2 main location. Notice how little details, including the same exact control panel that makes an appearance in the DLC specifically, suggests something is off about the room we end up in. Even our Ballora jump scare reveals a blue set of eyes that stick out from the original models as completely different. It's as if all our new renovations are part of this new sort of revamped version of the sister location bunker that are specifically set into place to help us with the mysteries of Five Nights at Freddy's past. This is further supported by the elevator lines we hear over the speaker that acts as our introduction to this entire thing in the first place. While the actual addressing of the protagonist in this teaser leaves a more vague interpretation, a key detail from the same speech is the whole "welcome back for another week" concept, because we know story-wise, this is everything. In terms of specific timelines set up just like this one, we know there isn't a specified time period in which we play through the events of the first Help Wanted game, meaning this wouldn't be a sort of continuation announcement you'd expect from VR game to sequel VR game. It better matches up with the fact that Sister Location's original events took place over the course of a week, more alluding to the idea that this experience is going to be specific to the Sister Location bunker's more revamped setup that's going to clear up the mysteries from the Ruin DLC. But all of these details considered, the biggest aspect of this entire thing is going to be confirming who the actual protagonist of Help Wanted 2 is truly meant to be. Before we get into more of what's actually going on here, you see Cassie's father's involvement in the setup is also present with the various mentions of him that go unresolved throughout the Ruin DLC. He's brought up a total of around 4 to 5 times, with namely the addition of the Faz wrench, connecting back to Cassie saying it's just like the one her dad used, the one we'd be able to perfectly plug in to the same conduit found in the elevator in the upcoming game. In terms of him playing a bigger role here, the only problem in this case would be the timing. We're told by Scott Cawthon directly that the direction this franchise is going to be ahead, the future that's able to additionally provide us with answers to our lingering mysteries from the earlier bits of the timeline, which of course bring us right back to Cassie's dad, as he's being alluded to during the time period of Ruin in a past tense. It's like the one her dad used to have, even potentially implying he's no longer present in the timeline at this point at all. Meaning if we're following the words of the big boss man himself, it wouldn't necessarily make sense for him to be the face of an overarching story that specifically looks towards the future rather than the past. In Cassie's sense, however, this future aspect connects perfectly to her having an uncertain direction left off at the very end of Help Wanted 2's preceding game, the Ruin DLC, which fits in nice and snug with Help Wanted's story. You see, it's been theorized that Help Wanted 2's entire story has already been perfectly mapped out for us. With the recent set of games released in this franchise, the last 2 of them have corresponded with exact events that occurred in the Silver Eyes novels. FNAF and MatPat will be the first to tell you of the same matching layer setup and storyline are no coincidence here. And continuing through these already mapped out course of events leads us to Circus Baby's Pizza World, the bunker location literally proven to be in the same exact underground area we end up at the end of Ruin. At least it's down there somewhere. And what better way to set up a game in the future than literally having it follow events that occurred in our DLC, please. The same DLC that has key details in it most players overlook. I've actually gone ahead and compiled every single one of those details in this video right here, so for the full story on this game before its upcoming installment, make sure to check it out.